Well, in a spirit of unity, let me start by saying I completely agree with Boris's point about building on back gardens. And I can give you my assurance, I have never agreed any planning application that allows building of homes or anything else on back gardens. Every single one of these decisions, because of their size, is actually taken by borough councils. There is not a single line in the London plan that encourages this whatsoever, and therefore I've announced in the next batch of revisions to the London plan, we will actually have in there a guide to boroughs, a presumption against any of that development. You don't need to change the mayor, you just need to change the decisions of the 32 boroughs that are allowing this to happen, and they are under no presumption or pressure from my office to do so. Let's get on to the real key here, which is the Stern report. Stern said basically we have no more than 4 or 5 years to actually turn around and avoid the catastrophic climate change that is coming. And therefore, absolute priority in every area must be the reduction of carbon emissions. It's why we've taken all the decisions we have, starting with the congestion charge, with the low emission zone, with all the other measures that we've put in place, such as the £25 charge for gas guzzlers. In itself, it will reduce 5,000 to 7,000 tonnes of carbon emissions. But the money raised will pay for the £500 million of expenditure on the next generation of cycling and walking measures that will then see a huge shift in individual decisions to leave the car at home and to cycle and walk. That should produce £500 million less, 500 million tonnes less of carbon emissions. All of these decisions are because we face a catastrophic and irreversible tipping point, and every aspect of mayoral policy must be geared to doing that. The position is that we don't have to live a worse quality of life, as the Climate Change Action Plan showed, but we do have to change the way we live in virtually every aspect of our life. London is, I think, making a good start. We're the only city in the world to achieve a shift away from cars in favour of public transport, walking and cycling. The congestion charge has been groundbreaking, now followed by Stockholm, by Milan and by New York, where the mayor is trying to get that past the Republican State Assembly. We've made massive improvements in public transport, replacing the entire bus fleet, many of them terribly polluting, with the most advanced buses, and we've let the first contract for hybrid buses. We have the only double-decker hybrid bus anywhere in the world trialling it on our streets, and we'll move as soon as that's shown to be able to take the pressures of travelling in London to a complete hybrid fleet, and we aim to get that underway by time of the Olympics. We've got the position we set up the C40, the 40 largest cities on earth meeting, because we can't wait for governments carrying on arguing about who's to blame or what the target should be. And with those mayors, we've started our own programme of initiatives, the most significant, the retrofitting of all the public buildings in our cities. And we will be letting the contract in the next few days to begin the retrofitting for energy efficiency of the entire GLA group block of buildings. And once we've worked out what the glitches are, finesse that, later this year we'll let a contract for the retrofitting of all public buildings in London, not just the ones we're responsible for, but the boroughs are responsible for, hospitals and government buildings as well. And that's happening right the way across the world. The Mayor of Paris has now announced that all the schools will be retrofitted. Mayors of Chicago and New York, mayors of Jakarta and other great cities around the face of the planet pressing ahead, not waiting for their governments. I'm particularly proud of the clean air zone that we've introduced, because the air quality in this city is so bad that it takes 8 months off the lives of an average Londoner. And we need to actually set a standard where our air quality is something that's exemplary, not the worst in Europe, and we will strengthen that clean air zone. At the moment it applies to 10-tonne vehicles. In the summer we will make that 3.5 tonnes, and in 2010 we'll press on to take the larger vans. But that's only going to happen if myself or Sean are elected as mayor, because that commitment to press ahead with those things, Boris has denounced it as the most draconian tax and fine regime, but it's only when you've got a good alternative, which is what public transport is in this city, and you've actually also got the draconian measures that force people who wouldn't otherwise do so to make that change. There is no justification for anyone in this city driving a 4x4 or a gas-guzzling vehicle, and if they choose to do that, they must expect to pay the £6,000 a year in order to compensate for the damage they're doing to our environment, and we will aim to build on these. The position that we have on airports is absolutely clear. They are part of the biggest problem we face. They are growing in terms of their carbon emissions massively, and I will fight in the courts if necessary with the local community groups as well to prevent the third runway at Heathrow. And I make it absolutely clear I am not in favour of any further airport expansion, whether it's Mappin or anywhere else.
Thank you very much.